Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Pankaj Malik from Magic. I'm working there as a technical head and I'm associated with the field of animation industry and visual effects over a period of 6 years. Today we're going to discuss about the advanced sculpting in the Mudbox. It's like an introduction to the digital sculpting, which is basically a revolution in the animation industry. And over the past few years, this technology has evolved and it has undergone to remarkable upgradations, as well as the performance of using the digital sculpting in programs like movies, games, architecturals, medical, engineering. The level has gone to really very good. So let me just start up with my subject. It's Introduction to Digital Sculpting, which is a next generation technology for 3D visual effects and animation industry. Before I should start with my topic, I would like to show you some of my videos which I have brought, so that you can get the basic idea what exactly is the digital sculpting doing in the market and where exactly people are getting the source. Just please have a look at this video. I'm sure most of you must be thinking what exactly it is. You have seen so many characters just appear in the video in a very excellent form, and they are also very heart touching. They are totally hyper realistic, and the realistic character, you can see good amount of cloth, the patterns of fabrics, and all of that. So, in simple words, I can describe digital sculpting is basically a technology harnessed or used from computer graphics. It's basically a software program. See, if we disintegrate the terms digital and sculpting, then we can say digital means the technology of computer, or which is the department of a computer, and sculpting, which is a traditional art. Most of us knows what exactly is a sculpting. It's like just like an artist who brings a form of a clay, putty or wax, and then he transforms them into a beautiful form. Maybe he can make a very good portrait or anything. So the combination of modern technology and the digital art, or you can say the traditional art, is called digital sculpting. And digital sculpting is basically, it is a software generated technology. There are so many companies who are working on this technology. Like Autodesk is one of the most good product selling company who is working on the digital sculpting technology, and its software is there, which is called Mudbox. Okay, there is another company called Pixologic, whose software is called the ZBrush. Similarly, many other companies are there who are working and putting their R&Ds on digital sculpting. Okay, we'll take a broad look in our presentation what exactly is digital sculpting and how we can get more into that. Okay, digital sculpting, the source of origin and inspiration. Okay, you surely know that traditional sculpting is the sculptor takes a lump of putty or clay and shapes it with his hands and or sculpting tools. You know the kind of tools used for sculpting, right? As you can see on my right side of the image, I have listed few of the tools which you might have seen. As you can see, some of the traditional sculpting tools are shown based upon this only. The technology of digital art has arrived. Means the source of inspiration for a computer based technology was the traditional sculpting. Yes, it's 100% true, because it is a combination of aesthetics and technicals. The need to achieve traditional artistic skills is also one of the important reasons of using digital sculpting in various entertainment as well as commercial platforms like movies, mega budget movies, games of AAA standards, architectural firms, engineering, medical, science, and commercial advertisements. All these aspects are now, run with the technology of digital sculpting. They are having few or some of the part used with digital sculpting, because as the demand of industry is growing, the expectations of audience, the expectations of viewers is increasingly day by day. People want everything to be new in terms of technology. We should, amaze them. So that's why, like, if we take a look at few movies like Avatar, Terminator, Clash of the Titans, Tintin, so many other movies, all those movies have got now excellent visual effects and graphics that could be possible only with the help of digital sculpting. Okay, and most of us play games also. We know that in the games now, the present scenario says that the level of games have rise. If we compare the games in our childhood days, we play games like Mario, Contra, Tetris, etc., etc. The graphics, the level has changed a lot. Okay, then when computer was introduced, the graphics were not of that much good quality, but now the present scenario says that we get almost a realistic impact in the games, and that attract us people from all the age groups. This is just why, because of this technology. In architectural firms, yes, of course, because in architecture, as you can see, people demands fully realism in their products. So that's why if people expectations are rising day by day. The software developers have to introduce the technology who can meet the requirements of today's audience. Okay, as well as in engineering, medical science, and commercial advertisement also. We'll go through with the slide and we'll explore the concepts of digital sculpting more. Okay, digital sculpting, also known as sculpt modeling or 3D sculpting, is a use of software that offer tools to push, pull, smooth, grab, pinch, or otherwise manipulate a digital object as if it were made of a real life substance such as clay. This is really very important because this is now we are starting up with the basics of the technology. Basically, the digital sculpting is a software program. It is a software which can be run in a computer. Okay, and such programs allows you to access the behavior of objects just like the same way as you are accessing them in the real world. For example, if I'll give you a piece of a clay, you can mold that clay in your hands. You can change the position of that particular objects from this to this direction, or you can create any good substance from a clay if you have a artistic skills in your hands. Okay, the same thing you can experience in today's next generation technology, which is called digital sculpting. In digital sculpting, you have got the access of the tools through which you can mimic the things which you can do in the real world, and the software supporting that I have already listed. One of the best software in the industry leading software is called Mudbox from the company Autodesk, ZBrush from the company Pixologic. Another softwares are existing like 3D Coat. Okay, now what actually digital sculpting made up of? What are the elements through which the digital sculpting is made? The geometry used in digital sculpting programs to represent the model can vary. It could be different. Each offers different benefits and limitations, because since it's a computer program, it could have some limitations, or if it is a computer program, it must have some object through which it can utilize itself. So if you're talking about a geometry, you can keep the shape of sphere, three-dimensional cube in your mind. Okay, now see, the majority of digital sculpting tools on the market use mesh based geometry. In simple words, I can describe it like that. The geometry is made up of polygons. Polygons, it is like that a three-dimensional object which you can access in computer programs, which in its sub-object level is made up of vertices, which are the free points. You can move them, rotate them in the 3D coordinate geometry. The edge, which is a line segment that connects two or more than two vertices. The face means the area enclosed by the four vertices or edge is called a face. But all such tools or technologies were existing in the traditional 3D modeling. Now I'm talking about traditional modeling. See, the computer technology is not new. It's been old. It's been decade old technology. Okay, more than in fact decade. The use of polygons or the mesh based geometry was also existing, but the only advancement in the digital sculpting is that their support or their number has been increased. What I am talking about is that in earlier times you can maybe access more than 1000 polygons, or you can work on your model on more than 5000 polygons, 6000 polygons, but still it's a restriction if you have to achieve hyper realism in your objects, be it an architectural product visualization object, be it a gaming model, or be it a full-fledged movie model. So somewhere somehow the technology restricts us. But now as the hardware is also progressing time by time, such tools or technology of digital sculpting, they support higher number of polygons. So this is basically all about the digital sculpting, okay, in which an object is represented by interconnected surface mesh of polygons, exactly, that can be pushed and pulled around. Of course, because I have already stated the way you act, the way you use clay in real world can be same utilized in computer technology. This is somewhat similar to the physical process of beating copper plate to sculpt a scene in relief. Okay. Other digital sculpting tools use voxel based geometry, in which the volume of the object is basic element. Material can be added and removed, much like sculpting in clay. Still, other tools make use of more than one basic geometry representations. But majority number of people, they stick to mesh based geometry because it has got lots of advantages and there is hardly any disadvantage. If we work on the voxel based technology, maybe when we dip down the details, the upper level of details could get disturbed. So most of the time people work on the mesh based geometry. It's a simple process in which you just create a basic three-dimensional object from any normal 3D package like Max, Maya, Cinema 4D, Blender, or any 3D application, and you can bring that mesh based object into the Mudbox, which is a digital sculpting software. Okay, from the files OBJ, which is called an object file, which is a universal standard through which you can bring any 3D object from any 3D software inside the sculpting packages. Okay. A benefit of mesh based program is that they support sculpting at multiple resolutions, of course, on a single model. Areas of the model that are finely detailed can have very small polygons, while other areas can have larger polygons. In many mesh based programs, the mesh can be edited at different levels of detail, and the changes at one level will propagate to higher or lower levels of model detail. A limitation of mesh based sculpting is fixed topology of the mesh. Topology basically defines the overall layout of the polygons or the distribution of the polygons, because digital sculpting program supports quads. Quads is basically the four-sided area. If in some part of your mesh the area get unproportionate, maybe they can stretch to a rectangular part, or maybe they can stretch to a rhombus part, in that specific area the sculpt details won't be there. So this is one of the limitations in using the mesh based program. So it is advisable that if you are putting your hands on the digital sculpting, you should use uniform distributed polygon mesh, in which if the mesh is stretched also, try to reduce the gap of the squares. Okay. A limitation of mesh based sculpting is the fixed topology of the mesh. The specific arrangement of the polygons can limit the ways in which detail can be added or manipulated. Okay. Digital sculpting is still a very new method, but it has become very popular in few short years. It has been around. Sculpting can often introduce details to meshes that would otherwise have been difficult or impossible to create using traditional 3D modeling techniques. This is also one of the most advantage in using the digital sculpting, because the traditional modeling tools won't be offering us that independence, or you can say the freedom to an artist, because the 3D modeling traditional process involves lot of technicalities which somewhere somehow constrain the artist, because such program digital sculpting applications are totally meant for the artist, where they are being given to unleash their creativity. Okay, this makes it preferable for achieving photorealistic and hyperrealistic results, of course, because now in today's technology one can create the duplicate of the human into the computer and in the same way as you can see a real person. So this is how the technology is running. Sculpting is primarily used in high poly organic modeling. Okay, high poly organic modeling means, as earlier I stated, the only difference between the 3D traditional modeling and digital sculpting is that the support of more number of polygons, although most of the process is remain same. The creation of 3D models, which consist mainly of curves or irregular surfaces, has opposed to hard surface modeling. But it's not like only limited to the organic modeling. The softwares of digital sculpting now supports full-fledged hard surface modeling. Hard surface modeling basically refers to the creation of metallic substances, like you can design complex machines. Okay, apart from like working on the organic meshes like the creation of aliens, humans, soft organic meshes, it can be utilized, or the power of digital sculpting can be harnessed in terms of hard surface sculpting also. Okay, it can create the source meshes for low poly game models, of course, used in video games. In conjunction with other 3D modeling and texturing techniques, the displacement and normal mapping, it can greatly enhance the appearance of game meshes, often to the point of photorealism. We'll be putting a detailed discussion on the maps which we are using, like these two terms, displacement and the normal mapping. Okay, some sculpting programs like 3D Code, ZBrush and Mudbox offers ways to integrate their workflows with traditional 3D modeling and rendering programs. Of course, what you can do is, with just a click, you can interchange your object file from one application to the different application. For example, I have created a basic 3-dimensional low poly object in Max Maya XSI Cinema 4D. With a just single click, I can send that particular same object with same location with same number of polygons to the sculpting packages. So this interoperability between the two softwares, one is a high-end 3D modeling software, another is a traditional 3D modeling software, also provides us good and better support. An artist or the modeler can to and fro between these two modeling packages. Conversely, 3D modeling applications like 3ds Max and Modo are now incorporating sculpting capability as well, though these are usually less advanced than tools found in sculpting specific applications. Of course, because it's not like that Maya and Max or other software do not have the facility for the digital sculpting, but probably because of the performance factor, such softwares don't have the capability to raise or to increase the number of the polygons, okay, which can be easily found in digital sculpting packages. Interaction with digital sculpting tools can vary from the standard computer mouse to digital pen. Now the question comes, how we can access such technology. This technology is basically accessed through the simple computer mouse also, but if you are a very fine artist, it is highly recommended you should use the digital pen tablet. A digital pen tablet, basically it's a device which is highly pressure sensitive, and that can also work on the sensitivity of your objects. That provides pressure sensitivity, which can provide added functionality for most sculpting software. Some tools even support sculpting with haptic input devices, which allow the sculptor to feel the digital object while sculpting. We are inside the usages of the digital sculpting. As such, we can you can see we had a detailed discussion on the digital sculpting, what exactly is the digital sculpting, how the technology is progressing. Now we just have to take a look at that, where exactly are the areas through which we can utilize the actual digital sculpting. I have already stated in the movies, games, architecturals and advertisements, but we're going to take a detailed look how we can see the usages of digital sculpting. First use is digital sculpting in the 3D printing. Many of us have heard about the term printing, which we can take the printouts from the computer onto a paper, but this is something which is called 3D printing, totally beyond the words what I can describe, because now one can create such a 3-dimensional model and then print it. Yes, of course, using one of many 3D printing services, or maybe create a mold or produce copies of it. It doesn't really matter. The clue is that a virtual creation is turned into a physical tangible object. Now we have to discuss on few words. First is called the virtual creation. As simple as that, what I want to say, you can make an object in computer which is called as a virtual object, because you can't access that object. You can see its gesture, its forms, its proportions, its color, its object only in 3D, but you cannot touch it. Okay. Now the today's technology says that with the introduction to the 3D printing and laser 3D printing technology, what we have created in the computer we can hold into our hands. This is such a huge technology. Okay, what does it do? You just can make a very high detailed mesh or object in your sculpting packages like we do normally in the digital sculpting. and then you can bring back those objects into those laser computers, which will scan the object files. This is totally its own internal engineering or calculation goes, because this 3D printer is a hardware device which allows you to produce the same quality mesh as you have given into the computer, and you can hold that piece of clay or any material which is the 3D printing supports, because many of the 3D printing supports different type of materials. We'll go into the depth. The process of achieving a real model from virtual 3D is the use of 3D laser printers or 3D printing scanning, a technology which converts the virtual 3D object file into a real clay or any other specified material object which exactly represents the form, gestures and proportions of virtual 3D. Okay. Digital sculpting in 3D printing. As you can see, there are many 3D printers available. Here we can take a look at the Connex. It is a device which converts the virtual 3D model into real world clay objects. This Connex, as you can see in my presentation, this is basically a printer which we normally can see in the shops or in our offices, through which we can take the printouts in or on the paper. But this 3D printer will convert the computer generated object into a real clay or real world object. Okay, this is a highly costly device, and in countries like UK and USA there are lots of demands of this technology, and soon in India also we will be expecting in few years, because as we can see, many of the toys or many of the daily use products are also designed first in computer. Their design is approved, okay, a form of a short toy, they come from this printing technology. Only then its color, its look and feel is decided. Based upon that design is approved. You can also correlate such things with your vehicles, like or vehicles or the bikes, scooters, everything. There also designs are first of all created in the computer design technology. After that it is approved to the production department to go for the manufacturing. Another part or in another branch where the sculpting is in progress, digital sculpting in architecture. Now here I am giving you a reference of Boston studio. There is a studio in Boston named Neoscape, which provides architectural solutions to its clients. What they stated about the Mudbox or what they stated about the digital technology, let's have a discussion. Okay, based in Boston, Massachusetts, Neoscape, which is a studio, provides a wide variety of 3D visualization services to clients in the architectural industries, including those creating luxury hotels, expensive airports and high-end condominiums. Long-time users of Autodesk 3ds Max design software, which is you can consider a traditional 3D modeling software as well as rendering solution. This company began experimenting with Autodesk Mudbox, which is a 3D digital sculpting package and painting software, on a recent visualization project. We're going to take a short look at these architectural firms company, how they are incorporating the uses of digital sculpting into their products. Okay, digital sculpting in architecture. With the rising demands and expectations of clients, the usage of digital sculpting has been proven inevitable in architectural firms. So where we'll take a look at that. As you can see in my slide, there are two objects. You can see there are two furnitures. One is a simple couch, another is a simple cushion. Both these two objects are digitally created. It's not like that we cannot create such programs in traditional 3D packages, but the amount of realism, as you can see, because the wrinkle patterns you can see on the cushion is really remarkable. Now the technology is in such a way that people also demands more realism. Okay, so based on that you can see the level of realism has gone up, and in the coming years people are also expecting to get more and more realism. These two objects are totally computer based technology. They have created totally in digital sculpting using a program called Autodesk Mudbox. Okay. Next, which is a very important factor and the support for the digital sculpting, is the digital sculpting usages in the movie. Everybody watch movie, everybody knows what sort of movies are coming. The 3D movies are also, they are totally fascinating. The filmmakers were able to create an innovative, groundbreaking films like Avatar with the help of digital sculpting and Autodesk Mudbox software, which was used for the digital sculpting process. Now we'll take a look at that, where these people have used the digital sculpting. Okay. The recent study shows with the incorporation of digital sculpting in characters, they are using that term in the characters, creating environments and assets. The phase of movie standard has changed, of course, and remarkable progress has been observed in realistic or hyper realistic concepts. Okay, now you just take a look at that. It's difficult to list out the names of movies created with digital sculpting technology, because since 2004 we believe so the involvement was there in all movies, yet still we are listing few of the movies in front of you, which is a mega budget movies. Okay, because digital sculpting technology, I believe so, was existing since 2003, since 2004. After that, remarkable upgradations have been made. Okay, Avatar, which is a mega budget film by James Cameron. As you can see on the right side of my slide, the two main characters from the movie Avatar, Jake and Neytiri. These two 3D virtual characters have been made with digital technology. There are other movies also, for example, Transformers, Clash of the Titans, District 9, The Incredible Hulk, Avengers, Terminator, The Rise of Machine, and so and so. Now here you can take a detailed look where exactly this technology is been using. You can see on the left side of my slide, the female character Neytiri, his real face is there, and on the right of it there is a digital face which is constructed totally in the Mudbox or in the digital sculpting softwares. Because in the traditional modeling we cannot push the limits of our expectations, so for that digital sculpting is a wonderful solution. And same way you can see on my right side the Jake, whose real face is there and his three-dimensional face is being used. Other examples from the same movie Avatar, you can see from the right side the fully made digital model of Colonel. Okay, digital sculpting in movies not only limited to characters, but digital sculpting is widely accepted in designing aliens and creatures also. As you can see very clearly, it's not only limited to the human, you can utilize your creativity in every field. Okay, now one of the greatest use of digital sculpting is in the games. Now these days the gaming world is utilizing the actual power of digital sculpting, and thus the huge expectations of gamers has forced the artists to unleash their creativity and brings the impossible out from their imaginations to digital creations. Okay, whatsoever you are holding inside your brain, because an artist is a person who always thinks of some creative ideas. With the incorporation of digital sculpting, there is no foundation left. Whatsoever he is keeping in his brain, his creativity, he can bring out in front of the audiences through the sculpting packages. Okay, there is no second opinion that games has revolutionized the society, and it attracts people from all the age groups. The development in games has forced many of us to completely involve into the virtual world. Because of the believability which games offers to us, one cannot stop himself from the reach of next gen game equipped and boosted with technology of digital sculpting. The technology of extracting details from a high resolution geometry which is baked further into a 2D map. Now a very important question comes, like in the games we are constrained or we are limited not to use the complete sculpted mesh because of the limitations of the hardware, but the solution for that is we can extract the details of a high resolution mesh and we can copy them, or we can use such details in a form of a two-dimensional map which is called as a normal map. Such normal map is highly calibrated and it can transfers maximum of the details on a low poly object, which basically continues the process of the gaming, and through which also you can experience good and hyper realism things in the games and its technologies. The level of game has reached to a standard and benchmark which is called AAA standard. We'll take a short look at what is a AAA standard. Okay, as you can see, digital sculpting in games, normal map workflow in games of AAA. You can see on my slide, the left side is a high resolution polygon object, the mid one is a low res, and the incorporation of normal map, and normal map is also extracted from digital sculpting softwares, because these sculpting softwares also provides a facility of extracting normal maps which can be further used on a low polygon objects. Okay, digital sculpting in games, again you can say this is basically the meaning of the AAA games, which is high quality, broad market, high sales, large teams, big budget, polished audio visual direction, perfect technical and artistic execution, playable and fully enjoyable within the first 5 minutes of play. Exactly, because if you can see here carefully, such huge points are there. So without the incorporation of digital sculpting, I don't think so such points can be utilized. As you can see, few of the examples of the digital sculpting in the games. On my left side you can say a very low poly body, but the details extracted with the form of a normal map. So because of the incorporation of normal map through the digital sculpting process, people are now enjoying hyperrealism in their games and technology. Another few example you can see, digital sculpting in games. Digital sculpting in medical science. This is one of the greatest achievement, I could say. One of the advancement of digital sculpting is in medical science. In earlier days, when a modeler was asked to create complex 3D organic objects, at times it becomes difficult to extract the details and was a bit of time consuming also. Another drawback was in productions, we always have to go through with a lot of corrections. Digital sculpting allows to minimize the time and also enhances the level of productions to achieve high standard 3D in less time period, because in production the deadlines and time schedules are really very important. So digital sculpting also reduces the load sheds. Now you can take a clear look the digital sculpting in medical science also. Suppose if I have to give a demo on the human anatomy, I can go into each and every single muscle, I can go into each and every single tendon, I can go into each and every single nerve also, which was practically in earlier days of traditional 3D modeling softwares was simple words was not supportive, or it was not very easy. Okay, suppose if I have to list out the few of the bones like mandible, nasal bone, zygomatics and all of that, such detailed organic things could be extracted easily with the help of the digital technology. Okay, digital sculpting. You can take a look. Digital sculpting in medical science, again we can construct a full-fledged human body through these programs. Okay, and as I told you, is it now very easy to make all the muscles, anatomy and all of that, and it is really very helpful for the biology students, because if we use such technologies in normal classrooms, it becomes very easy for a student to understand the form or the behavior of the muscles. Okay, the last point of my discussion is the success mantra in digital sculpting. We have discussed a lot on the digital sculpting. Many of the aspiring students must be thinking that how to crack the digital sculpting or how to achieve the digital sculpting. The simple answer is that, as everyone knows, art has got no shortcut. Digital sculpting is achievable through adequate practice and study. The next thing in our mind comes is what to study and how to study. So we'll see first of all what to study. The digital sculpting process is very interesting, and along this, when results come on screen, I mean, if whatever you're carrying in your mind, if it comes on the computer, it becomes very easy for you, and it just enhance your craze also, and you get dipped inside that process too much, which we expect adds more craze and passion in our work. Yes, at times it is difficult, however, to achieve things or creativity which is in our mind. For that, patience is the key to success. Practice, practice, practice. Make you able to carve out things which has all the abilities to attract the audience. The more you do the practice, the better you hold your hand on such applications. Okay. How to study? Study of three important elements in sculpting: study of forms, study of proportions, study of the gestures. We'll take a short look at that. What is a form? Forms describe the general outline of any complex shape. This is also known as a silhouette. A silhouette is an outer boundary which is extremely important in tracing basic shapes of any given geometry. They are always important in establishing good sense of art and aesthetics. The proportions are the backbone of any sculptures, and good and sound study of proportion always make our sculptures error free. A simple idea is to study the human proportions in which 8 head units are considered. This will actually increase your knowledge of proportions and helps you in establishing good forms. Okay, as you can see, 3.5 heads are required to generate the arm of a human. Okay, 8 head units are required to measure the length of the human, and 3 head units are required to measure the width of the humans. If you consider such important points, your digital sculpting process becomes too much easy, and first of all, it's be error free. So the knowledge of form, gesture and proportion, it's extremely important. Okay, study of gestures. Gestures describe the balance in our sculpts. The way our sculpture stands, in which accurate weight shifts, is balance. The line of action is extremely important to balance the anatomy of our character in sculpting. Okay, most of you must have seen that like so many traditional artists, they have kept their sculptures. Maybe you can see like the Statue of the Liberty, for example. In that particular gesture, a lady is carrying an object in his hand. Okay, the folds of the wrinkles, the gravity in their clothes is supported by the way she is standing. Okay, so this is called the gesture study. Or if it is like that, some female sculpted lady is holding a baby in their hands. So the last, to end up my slide, these are the following resources available for you. Internet is one of the biggest source of learning, which hopefully fulfills the expectations of every aspiring artist. Area Autodesk, ZBrush Central, 3D Total, CG Hub and CG Arena. Through these websites you can get the more benefit of digital sculpting. Okay, and I believe so this was really very nice, and I enjoy my session a lot. For any of your queries, you can contact us. Okay, thanks for watching us.